Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Brandon from Audio Addiction, going live yet again. Sorry if I sound a little tired. Went to a show last night, and I somehow decided on Sunday, you know what? Why don't we just do two album reviews back to back? So I am definitely tired, but I wanted to do this review for quite a bit. If you have been with the channel for a long time, you know You Win Again Gravity is one of the first bands that I ever had on the channel, and I love them to death. But I have been really stoked to check out this entire album because after listening to Curious Fake, Paper Bodies, I just kind of said to myself, I need to listen to this whole thing. So with their blessing, I have done we're going to go through the entire album Into the Dancing Blues. So I'm excited to spend the time with this album. It's well overdue, and I was just kind of blown away by the singles. So I just thought in my head instinctually, I need to go live. I need to react to this and kind of just do my thing that I already do already. So very excited to get into this. If you do love this album and you wind up either checking it out now live, or if you do wind up checking it out later in the VOD, please go pick this up. They are in the UK. I know they're playing a couple shows. So if you do live in the UK, I know that they are making CDs. So if you want to go pick up a CD, go do that. If not, you can go pre-order it. Well, actually not pre-order. You can just pick it up on their Bandcamp. It's in the link tree down below. So please go show them some love. Seriously, a very underrated band from the UK. And I know this is taking a couple years for them to kind of put together. So that much more special in terms of a record. So just really excited. I am gonna get into the first song because there's 11 tracks here. Some of them are a little bit longer than others, so I want to make sure I have enough time to talk about all of them. So the first one being Olorian, I'm pretty sure if that's how you pronunciate it. Again, if you're new to the channel, you already know I'm bad at pronunciating things, but I'm just gonna go with it. You know, I'm just gonna believe that's the way that you say it. So anyway. This is the first song off of Into the Dancing Blues, so let's give it a listen.
Speak, shout.
Ooh.
Is it everything you want just to fly?
It's like very vocoder voice. I like it.
Speak, raise your voice so high, and your want.
Bro. It gives me like a very Loathe vibe, which one of my favorite bands of all time, so I'm about this already. Oh, this is already starting out creepy. I love it.
Reach now, spread your arms forth now, gaze down the way, speak now, take to and out the windows.
Thank you, Jonathan. I need all the help I can get.
Grasping hands and folding fingers, just try
perfectly melodic and also being like really heavy. Very contortionist X, and I love that. Oh man, what a great start to this album. Oh, I am not ready for this, I don't think. Oh my god, that was awesome. All right, I think Jonathan gave me the correct pronunciation. Thank you for joining, Jonathan. Always appreciated. Um, the song is called Aurelian. Aurelian. I'm still gonna butcher it, I think. But I really enjoyed this one a lot. I think this is probably the one of the more, because I did listen to Curious Fake and Paper Bodies. But I really kind of feel like this borrows a lot from like the Contortionist in like the best way possible. It really has this kind of like airiness, kind of melodicness that you definitely get in terms of like more of the clean, like reverb driven sort of lead lines in this song. But then also coupled with like the really like chuggy, like riffy guitar work. Enjoyed that a ton. I think just kind of the contrast of that is really interesting and borrowing again a lot from the Contortionist. I'd also say Loathe as well. I know that they kind of incorporate like shoegazy elements into their music as well too. So I do find that this is kind of like a really cool blend of those two things that personally, two bands I really enjoy a lot. Loathe a little bit more specifically. I love them so much, but I feel like this song specifically kind of pulled from that sort of lane or sound as well. But just kind of the overall layering of the track, I think it has this really kind of, especially at the beginning where it starts off really soft and like you kind of don't feel like you kind of have an idea of where the song is going to go, but once like the drumming, the guitar work, all that sort of stuff kicks in, you kind of get a better idea of like how the dynamics work within this song. So I really enjoyed that a lot. As well as that, just the vocal work was really cool. It had this cool kind of like vocoder kind of effect on it as well. I think that added this really cool like eerie melodicness to it as well. Not even considering kind of the guitar work as I mentioned previously, but I think vocally it had this really kind of like eerie, dark feeling to it. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it as well. But overall, it was just kind of a really good opener to the album. I think it does kind of give you a pretty good perspective on what I feel like the album is going to be going like, especially after listening to the the singles. Other than Character Arc, I think that's the only one I didn't listen to, and I know Shadow Boxing came out pretty recently as well. I think those were the ones that I didn't listen to. Recursive, I think I did listen to, but it was a very, very long time ago. So I don't want to count that as one of the songs that I've listened to recently. But yeah, this was great. This one was super heavy, really fun, very melodic, and just had this cool kind of like ethereal overtone that I think bands right now that are doing it well, and I'd also probably include a little bit of Deftones in there because it definitely kind of gives me a little bit more of a shoegazy sort of vibe to it as well. But yeah, great track, super heavy, dynamic. I think that was kind of the coolest part about it, is like the contrast between the like melodic like lead guitar work, and then as well as that just kind of the heavy chug like driven sort of songs. Really balances it out super well, and just was a great song to start off with. So we are going to move on to track 2, which is Curious Fake. I have listened to this one. Honestly, since I did the review or the reaction of both Curious Fake and Paper Bodies, I have not given these a listen thus since that point. So I'm excited to delve into both of these songs again, because it's been a little bit. I think it's been a couple months. So it's going to sound fresh to me, which I'm all about. So we are going to move it on to track 2, which is Curious Fake. So let's give it a listen. I love his beginning guitar riff. So sick. Beginning ascending riff. I don't know. Ascending riff. That's the word. I couldn't think of the word. Oh, it's as good as I remember it to be.
Push the ones in your way to the side. It's alright, I'll show you how the rest do. It'll only take a while. I'm bound to blank responses. I wait for the taste, but it never seems to sink inside. Just
Oh, man. This chorus is so sick.
the lion's share comes to those who have no heart. So I remain unfair. Slip out from underneath the shadow of something new. It's just a phase. Break it open, it's hardly fair to keep it to yourself. I'll hold
this
you
section's so
up
cool,
until you spill all over me. I wait for the taste, but it never seems to sink inside. Just a phase in the dark. The lion's share comes to those who have no heart. So I remain unfair.
Oh, these leads. Fucking sick. Oh, I love that rhythm change. Oh, so cool. The first time listening to this was wild. So sick.
check for blood. It's a
Oh my
shame that
god.
it tastes so sweet. See that curious fake? It's in there somewhere. Are your favorite take just great? And I'm left with a taste, but it never satisfies. I'm just sitting in the dark. I'm waiting for the taste, but it never seems to sink.
That key change killed me. I love that. Oh, so good. Guys, if you're just tuning in, this was track 2 off of You Win Again Gravity's new album, Into the Dancing Blue. Please check it out. Links in the description. I still think this is one of the best songs that I've heard from them in quite a bit. I am curious where this is going to wind up sitting towards the end when I'm going to pick my favorites off the album. But oh man, just the dynamics in this track alone. I mean, I could talk about this song for hours and how much I love it, but I would highly recommend watching the first reaction to this, because I feel like, not to say that this reaction isn't genuine, but I legitimately had listened to it for the first time. This is just like, oh, okay, like a familiar friend. Like, you know this person, but it's been a little bit, so didn't seem like I probably jumped as much as I normally do, but I still love this song so much. I think the coolest thing about it is kind of the just the way that the song shifts throughout. Like, I believe I mentioned it in my reaction review of Curious Fake, which was the fact that this song is 5 minutes and 11 seconds long. I mean, that's a pretty substantiative track, especially considering in the general landscape of music right now, a lot of songs are kind of at that, like, I don't know, like 3-minute mark roughly, depending upon whatever genre you're in. And obviously there's maybe a little bit of extra time if you're into like more of the prog stuff. People feel like people generally kind of have that sort of foreknowledge of knowing like, hey, this is what it's going to be. Like, longer songs seem to be that sort of format right now. But I just got to say, this song dynamically is just like all over the place, which I think really fits in with You Win Again's Gravity sound, because I do feel like they kind of borrow a lot from prog. Obviously they do borrow a little bit from math rock, or not math rock, mathcore as well. So I do think that there are some moments within this song specifically, whether it be like guitar rhythm wise or like drumming, or as well as that like bass playing. I think there's some really cool moments where you can hear like some different parts of the influences that they pull from. And I think that they kind of do a great job of not only obviously paying homage to bands that they have grown up listening to, but also kind of carving out their own path. And with this song specifically, I think it kind of gives you a good parameter in terms of the types of heaviness that is within this song, but also kind of the technicality behind it as well too, because there's some really unique like guitar work. There's some really cool guitar like rhythm tracks, like in terms of chording and stuff like that. There's even a key change towards the end of the song as well too. Dynamically, it's very rhythmic bass, which is really sick. And just kind of the overall, if you look at it from like a face value, the song is great. But I think if you also just really like music a lot, and I think if you're very intuitive in terms of listening to songs and getting into them, I think this song has a lot of depth into it that I would imagine like the normal person that doesn't know about kind of the intricacies of like progressive music may not fully understand it. They might just think, oh, this is a cool song, I really like it. But I think if you are kind of more of a dedicated like music listener, and you especially listen to a lot of prog music, I think this is definitely a good opener song. If you have not checked out You Win Again Gravity, I would highly recommend giving this one a listen, because I would imagine the rest of the album is going to have a very similar sort of styling or thought process. So I think if you do listen to Curious Fake and this is the only song that you've listened to from them, I do think this is a great starting point. I really enjoyed the vocals as well. Really fun, really like energetic. I think Jack does a fantastic job of just holding down the clean vocals. I think he's just become more of an impressive vocalist over the years as well too. His tonality has become more defined. I'd also say too, like the screaming in this track was really sick. I don't think I've personally heard screaming in their music in quite a bit. So this was a really cool way to kind of reintroduce it, especially within this album specifically. I imagine there's going to be more screaming throughout as well too. I don't want to discount that, because I know they get a little heavy every once in a while. But yeah, this one was really, really good. I still think this is one of the best ones that they've put out in quite a hot minute. But I am curious to delve into more of their album as a whole, which is what we're going to be doing. And just kind of to see where it fits. Olorian was really great, and I think it kind of plays off of more of the melodic nature of the verses within Curious Fake. So it was cool to hear that. And then also dynamically, I think they all kind of, I would imagine this whole album kind of dynamically is very succinct. So I really enjoyed this one a lot. As most people know, that was one of my favorites when I listened to it, and still remains amongst my favorites as we go through this album. So we are going to move in on to 3, which is going to be Paper Bodies. This is the other one that I listened to in the first reaction video. So if you haven't checked that out, maybe after this video is live, then I'll put a link to both. But please go check out You Win Again Gravity. As I mentioned before, links in the description. Please go show them some love if you happen to check on this video. Really, really sick. So show them some love. Love these guys. Big fans. But yeah, Paper Bodies. Let's give it a listen. Yeah, Vincent, that opening is super atmospheric. I love it. So sick. I love how like direct this bass playing is sick. It's so cool. I love it.
Just tell me why we're here. Scissors, curtains, tape, sewing cats, making tapes and picket lines since 1995. It's just the rules that we have made. If we know they are.
I love the warmth and the low end. It's so sick. Vocally. Oh. So jazzy. I love this.
Two tribes breathless. No room
The vocal layering in this track is so tight too.
So old-fashioned way of valiant time to think. I'm already partisan. Weaknesses to change your mind. Seasons come, some take, so we can't. Making songs and picket lines since 1995.
Oh, the gang vocals, baby.
And the vacant violent partisans to change your mind. Perfect time response, trauma curated. You're a thespian, taunting the audience.
Oh, this piano work is so good. Underrated in this track. This ending is so great too. I forgot how much I love this ending. All right, guys. So that was Paper Bodies. That was the third track and probably the last single I listened to before I jumped into this album. So go check out Paper Bodies if you haven't. Rewind it a little bit. You can come listen along with me if you're watching this after the fact, or if you're watching live. That would be really sick. But the song itself, I think this one was arguably very different from Curious Fake. There were some moments where I feel like there is that connection. But this one felt way more melodic and a little bit more like jazz influenced, which I'm 100% on board for. I think there's a lot more atmosphere going on with this track, and I think that's kind of like the theme that I've realized throughout this record thus far has just been how much atmosphere can we add into this whole album. And I think they've done a really just spot-on job of adding a lot of great elements where it doesn't seem like it's too much, but I also don't think it's not enough where it's like, okay, I don't know if whether or not this is going to fit or not, or I don't know if this is really going to work. I think they've found a really great mid-ground between having some really like beautiful like piano parts that really accentuate the vocals, but also like some of the more like melodic guitar parts, and then the bass has a really great job of filling that low end in that maybe the piano doesn't. So I think they're very complementary, and I'd argue that last portion of that this song really sold me on that. Even on first listening to it again, I think it kind of insinuates, or I feel like it kind of instills that mental thought process I had when I first reacted to the song. But just the kind of bass work going and playing along with the piano work was just really awesome. I think they really mesh well together, and I think that's kind of what makes me really love the end of this song that much more, is just the way that how intricate that ending is, and how very like musically jazzy it is. I think there's just this really attention to detail in terms of the songwriting, and I think you can tell a lot with just the first 3 songs of this album. Two of the ones that I've already listened to already and have a pretty familiarity to, I do think that they have a great way of kind of having those strong moments of, hey, like we need to include these really interesting like guitar lines. How do they mesh well with the piano work? And I think I can't do a very good job of explaining it, but I know on their YouTube channel they've kind of broken down most of the singles that they've done, and I would highly recommend watching them, especially if you're a music nerd like myself. It's been a cool experience to kind of like understand their thought process and how they're going about writing these songs, and like how much layering goes on within each one. So I'm really enjoying that and going through that experience and just re-listening to the like, I want to say VODs, but just kind of re-listening to the like track, but maybe in a different way. So really appreciate that. But yeah, Paper Bodies, another fantastic one. I think if you're like more in the melodic space, but you do like some heavy music, this may be the one for you. But arguably, just kind of the whole the singles that are out, I think they're all fantastic. We are going to get into Character Arc, which is one that I haven't listened to, but I did hear a little clip, so I feel like I kind of have a little bit of an idea, unless they completely blow my brains out and have something that I am not prepared for. So very excited to get into Character Arc. But yeah, this one's great. If you're like a little bit more on the softer side, you like something a little bit more melodic, then I would say this one is definitely more so your lane of music. So we are going to get it into track number 4, which is Suppression. Getting into the newer stuff. I think pretty much the rest of this album I haven't listened to. So I'm very excited to delve into these songs because I have not listened to them. So these will be first moments, first reactions. So let's get into Suppression. Opens up in the chorus. Actually, I lied. I'm pretty sure I listened to this one. This is another single. So kills me. I think they kick it in after this like little melodic part.
The rest of you look on.
I'm pretty sure. Oh, I forgot how much I love that one too. Oh my god. It was so good. Guys, that was track 4, Suppression, off of You Win Again Gravity's new album, Into the Dancing Blue. Man, oh, I forgot how good this song was. Now it just throws everything, all of my mindset I had about this album. Now I'm gonna be second guessing, questioning all of my choices now. I can just feel it already. But yeah, this one was great. I think it really borrows a lot from both Paper Bodies and Curious Fake in terms of like more of the melodic aspects of things. I'd also say Olorian as well too. I think the first 4 songs of this album are pretty synergistic. And I imagine Character Arc is probably also in the same lane as well too. I don't mind reaching my mental judgment into that track, as a forethought. But there just really is a unique way that all of these songs kind of lay into each other in a way. Like, there are some moments, I think kind of intermingly throughout the album has just been like fun to hear moments where you're like, oh, cool, I like the way that they did that because it matches up well with like a part in Curious Fake. But then also you will listen to the same song and there will be parts where you're like, oh, that's really cool, that lines up really well with Olorian, I really enjoyed that, like more of the sort of atmospheric, a little bit more melodic parts of the track. I like the kind of jazz breaks within this song. Reminds me a lot of Paper Bodies. And I think that's kind of been the fun thing of almost like connecting the dots in some way where there is some parts within a song where you're like, oh, this borrows from this and that borrows from that. So I've been really enjoying this. I think the chorus in this track is probably one of my favorites that they've done in quite a bit as well too. Really, really fun, really open. I think comparatively to the real kind of interesting like guitar work, and then just kind of going into more of like a halftime like open chorus. I think that was really well done, and I think it adds this kind of like space that is, I don't want to say is well needed, but I think it adds a really cool contrast to the verses, which are very like in your face, really aggressive. And I think that in the chorus, it gives you a lot more time to like kind of contemplate the song itself and be a little bit more immersed. And then once you get back into that second verse, then that's when everything picks up again and you're able to kind of pull out more of those vibes as well. So I really like kind of the counteractive nature of the verses and as well as the chorus of this song. I'd also say too, something I really enjoyed is just the vocals in this track. Really fun, really energetic. There's almost a sort of like minor tonality to the voices, that the band kind of create. It's been really fun to kind of pick out different like melodies that I almost instinctually feel like they were gonna go for, but then ultimately go either left or right hand turn from that original point. So I gotta give them a lot of credit. I think Jack is again really showing off a lot of his vocal prowess, and as well as that, I think just kind of the the tedious nature, I feel like, of them going through and really being meticulous about like the strong structure as well as like the musicality. You can really tell that there's a lot of thought and attention to detail, and I'm only 4 songs in and I feel that already. But I almost feel like some of the songs that I haven't listened to, the ones that they've kind of I don't want to say purposefully like left out, but I feel like the ones that they really haven't done anything for yet because the album wasn't out at the current time. I do feel like the songs that they had out in terms of the singles were really good representations thus far of their sound and what they've been able to do. And I'd also say hopefully what they're going to continue to do as a project and as a collective, because it's been really fun to kind of delve into it, and I know how much time and effort they've taken into doing this album. So I think I have just more love and appreciation for what they've been able to create over, a long time. I think they've been a band longer than I've been doing YouTube for. So, I think that to me in and of itself is such a marker on how each record and each process that they've done has just gotten a little bit better. They've gotten a little bit more out there, but I still feel like it's still within the UN Again Gravity camp of music. So been really enjoying that. I think for me personally is just them being one of the first bands that I've had on in the first year of doing YouTube, and to just kind of see where they're at now has been really a cool blessing. So keep doing it, guys. I know you're probably going to want to wind up watching this. I think Jonathan's still in the chat if I'm not mistaken, but yeah, it's been really fun going through all of these, but excited to get into the new stuff because I did lie. I'm on 95% sure I did listen to Suppression. So I don't know if I wind up doing a reaction video to it or not. I can't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday. So that's kind of out the door. But either way, very excited to get into a Character Arc. I know that they did do a music video for this one, I believe, and so some of the other stuff after Character Arc I can assure you 100% I did not listen to, so those will be fresh. But Suppression is not fresh, so it's just a reintroduction, which I'm totally about. But we are going to get into track 5, which is Character Arc, so let's give it a listen. This bass is so sick. That was so sick. Oh my god, this got heavy out of nowhere.
Figure out that I'm okay.
my god, that was wild. What are they gonna do? What are they gonna do next? Something's gonna happen. Okay. That double bass work, so sick. All right, guys, that was track 5, Character Arc, off of You Win Again Gravity's new album, Into the Dancing Blue. You can go pick that up in the links in the description. Go show them some love. Seriously, really sick band. This song specifically, I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. There was that section of the bridge where I almost instinctually thought something was going to happen, and it kind of did towards the end, but I do kind of feel like possibly a little it overstayed its welcome just a little bit. I think there were some parts where I was like, okay, what are they gonna do? Because there were some really cool like drum rolls, as well as like the actual like instrumentation was really sick. I just think maybe possibly it could have been cut in half just in terms of the time frame. I just think that there was some momentum there, especially after like that last like bridge part where I almost thought, okay, they're gonna add like some really cool like atmospheric element, or they're gonna go like really heavy in a completely different direction. And I appreciate the fact that they did go in the atmospheric way. I do wish that like ending portion of the song came a little bit sooner, because I do think there was some moments where I was like, okay, it's really cool, but if it just started like maybe a smidge earlier, I think that it would definitely sell me a little bit more in terms of this song. I think just kind of the first verse, first chorus, all that first verse, first chorus, second verse, second chorus, I think that was great. The bridge was also very cool as well too, but I think once it gets past that part, it does take a little bit of a turn, but I do think that if it was shortened a little bit, it would definitely make my opinions on that song a little bit more higher. I think I would appreciate it just a smidge more than where it is. But that is not to discount the actual musicality of it, especially in that first portion of the song. Really sick, really aggressive, really vibey, and I think I really enjoyed that a lot. Overall, just the band is doing some really great stuff right now. So I really thought that the overall song was very enjoyable. I think out of the singles that are out, I'd probably say this one is, at the current time, before the album had dropped, I would probably put this as probably my least favorite out of the 4 that were released. I just feel like Curious, Fake, Paper Bodies, and Suppression had more of a succinct idea, and I think that Character Arc, especially in that like bridge portion, I wish there was maybe a little bit more. I think possibly the music video might be able to give me more of a representation on what they could have done within that time period that maybe would have swayed my opinion on the track. But just listening to it as a whole, I think it would have been very nice to have a little bit more of an interesting vibe going in that like last portion of the song personally. So overall, really solid song. I definitely think it's one you should give it a listen to, especially if you've been enjoying the album thus far. I don't think that's any discount or knock on how the rest of the album is going to be going, but I do feel like possibly if that part was cut out, or not even cut out, I think if it was shortened, I think it would just have more of a direct opinion and kind of more of a direct thought. So overall, really fun thus far, and again, pretty spotless run thus far going through the entirety of the album. So we are going to move it on to track 6, which is Shadow Boxing. This is all new. I think Recursive may be the only other one that I have listened to. I think that is one of the older songs that they have done. So I think I have listened to it, but honestly, I don't even remember listening to it. Just in terms of doing stuff for the channel, so it will be pretty fresh. I just know that they released Recursive before already. It actually might have been around the second time that I did the second interview with them, so I did listen to that, and that was many years ago, so I hopefully will remember parts. If not, then it will seem very fresh to me. So let's get into Shadow Boxing, because that is the next new track, which is track 6.
While you
Like that tappy guitar part. Sick.
read a glance and wonder where this passenger is heading. No, you can't compare our lives. No, this changes nothing.
It's a sick. That part was sick.
There's a cause for the itch inside your head. When you feel that change, so slide.
Some of the monologue choices that this band has chosen to pick is sick.
Feeling like you won. You won. Gates growing by.
Oh, this is great.
Constructing the dream. Make the text of faces fade away. There's no substance to this life. On the
Oh, this piano work is awesome.
it's all you can do to keep your head up for yourself and so you watch and you hesitate and you have to be the one who knows where everyone is heading. Guided to your
so good. Oh my god. Oh, that ending. That was so sick. Guys, that was You Win Against Gravity. Why do I You Win Again Gravity? I can say it at least once right, I guess. I don't know. I'm losing my mind here. But their new album, Into the Dancing Blue, this song you were currently listening to was Shadow Boxing. Wow, what a song. This had like all the elements that I feel like You Win Again Gravity does very well. Similarly to Probably similarly to my love of Suppression and Curious Fake, I think it borrows a lot from that song. The dynamics of the track were really great. I'd also say the integration of piano and just kind of the heavier guitar work was really nice. I know that that's kind of been a theme throughout the entire album, but I would say this one was done very, very well. I don't want to say it's the best one yet because we haven't gotten through the entire album, and there might be other songs that I feel like maybe do more of that justice. But I do really love the guitar work mixed with the piano work. I think you can really tell a lot of that distinction, especially in the last like bridge portion of the song, where it's almost they're trading off, where they have one part where there's this really cool kind of lead guitar work, then that is followed up with some really cool piano work, and then there's like this cool space in between, and then it finishes out on like some really cool lead guitar work as well on top of that. Really love the combination of that. A band I did mention in the previous reaction videos I did for Curious Fake and Paper Bodies, and I also probably would also pretty sure I mentioned it in Suppression as well, was just their sound kind of reminds me a lot of a heavier version of Reign of Kindo, which is like this really sick jazz band. I really enjoyed their music over the years, and I just think that they kind of have that sort of like jazz influence within this entire album. And while it may not seem like maybe a four-fronted sound, I do think that they have their moments, especially with the like bass and piano working together. I think that's really when you can kind of tell more of the kind of like odd influences. I also say BT Bam as well, Between the Buried and Me. They definitely borrow a lot from them too, in terms of that writing. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, like the Contortionist and like Loathe and stuff, with more of the, I would say Contortionist more of the like technicality and like atmospheric elements, and I would just say for Loathe maybe more so like the heavier elements as well as like the more melodic elements of what Loathe does, I guess more borderlining like shoegazy sort of sounds. So but yeah, Shadow Boxing definitely amongst my favorite off the album already. I can say that were pretty high marks in terms of the song itself. But yeah, overall vibes were super high on this track. I think there was dynamically a lot of great layers, and if I was to kind of break down these songs a little bit more, I feel like it would be very difficult, and we'd probably also be here a lot longer. So I try to keep it succinct, but the overall thought process of this, I think Jack did a fantastic job. There's some really beautiful like harmonies going on that mesh super well within the song's structure, but as well as that, the guitar work sounds great too. Really enjoyed that. As well as, I would say the unsung hero in this song is the drumming. There's some really cool like double bass moments as well as kind of like drum fills that really set the song in for me, and just overall was a fun vibe. Super fun song to listen to. And again, if you haven't listened to this one, highly recommend it. 2 thumbs up. Very good song. So we are going to move on to track 7, which is Lights to Leave Behind. This is the next song off the album. So let's give it a listen.
I see major minds up, I've missed my turn at all. Humatic machinations seem to fade, and I guess I should thank you. You've done all the thinking for both of us. What's that? There are two of us, unless it turns out that I don't want to be your friend. I want to be in your bed, and it's a nice fresh start for you.
Oh, this rhythm is so sick. All right.
How would we get here? I learned quite a lot about
I like that dissonant chord. Super sick.
so you know how embarrassing it is to know I lost the game, to know I failed to see the change. What's that? You've been thinking of me. It's just call me aesthetic, but I'm not appalled by that. It turns out that I don't want to be your friend. I want to be in your bed, and it's a nice fresh start for you. While I sit and stare and shake, it's so simple.
I love that ending chord, baby. So sick.
Try to state your case and make it rational.
Ooh, great melodies.
Just be sure to spend as little time as possible. I'm learning every day that I still got things to learn. I guess I should thank you. The only saving grace is I won't fall for this again. I guess you made your mind up, and yet you still keep touching me. Yeah. I've got 2 floors of well-worn stairs to climb. Can I hold down this light to leave behind? The problem is that I will never be your friend. I'll always return you back, and it's the best fucking year for you. Watching me sit and stare and scream. I can't believe I let you do this to me.
Oh, this ending. Oh, that was tight. That was awesome. Guys, that was Lights to Leave Behind. This one was out of the blue. I'm gonna say that. Just because I feel like thus far it's been very like melodic and very like ethereal and very kind of floaty in terms of the songwriting. This one feels 100% straightforward. Like the riffs were on point on this track. I absolutely love it. James as well as Jonathan, the guitar work was just phenomenal on this track. Very like chug. I don't want to say like chug heavy, but just like super riff centric. Which I absolutely love. You know, as being a guitar player myself, that's something I kind of feel like I point out a lot in whatever video I do. But I do think that there was just really just attention to riff detail that I absolutely just, it struck a chord with me, no pun intended. But yeah, I really enjoyed the guitar work of this. I also enjoyed, kind of like comparatively to all of the other songs that we've listened to thus far, this one just kind of feels like a really fun, like, it's still got the prog elements certainly, but I do think that this one is a little bit more straightforward in terms of the actual songwriting, which I think is kind of a breath of fresh air comparatively to some of the other songs on the album, just because they've been really like fun, like different time signatures and stuff. This one kind of keeps to like that 4/4, like even, just like even songwriting in that way. Like it doesn't come across as a prog song, but I think if you dig a little deeper, there definitely are a lot of prog elements. So it's like a pseudo prog song, I would say. I don't want to kind of be nitpicking at all, but yeah, it was just a really fun, really guitar riffy track. The vocals really solid. I would say just kind of instrumentally, it was probably one of my favorites as well. Just love the kind of directness of this track, and it being under 4 minutes long, I think is a pretty high mark, because I think it might be the shortest song comparatively, other than the Dancing Blue, which is 1:42, which I think is probably more of an intro or like interlude sort of track, I would argue. But yeah, Lights to Leave Behind, definitely amongst my favorites to listen to. Do I think it does a very good representation of the album? If I was to show this song first to a new listener, probably not, but I think personally, and just kind of my style taste, this one just locked in immediately, and I really enjoyed this one a ton. So yeah, Lights to Leave Behind, definitely a vibe. If you haven't given this one a listen, well, I don't know why you're here, and you should probably like rewind it and listen to some of the other songs at the beginning, because you missed out on some good ones. So but yeah, I enjoyed this one a lot. 10 out of 10 where I would just recommend listening to this one 100%. Just really fantastic guitar work that I think to me stood out the most. So really enjoyed this one a lot, and was very fun, very aggressive, very in your face, and those are the adjectives I have used to describe this song for today. So go give it some love. But the next one is track 8. This one is Recursive. As I mentioned before, this one may have came out after I had done the second interview, or around the same time I had done the second interview with You Win Again Gravity. So I have not listened to it since that point. So I probably have forgotten at least a majority of the song, and maybe it will jog some memory. So we'll find out. But track number 8, Recursive. Let's give it some listens. Great harmonies and layering. That bass kicks in, baby.
It's a simple thing, you see. It's natural. So why do I fool at all? 'Cause I'm 30 years old, so
doesn't have to go that hard. This has so much ear candy, it's not even funny. Oh, so sick. Oh, man, these melodies are wild. Oh, my heart. I love this. Bro, take me to church, bro. That's wow. Oh, man. I don't remember how good that song was, to be honest. It feels fresh, so I'm just gonna go and say that I have not listened to this. So it was great. So if I am wrong, let me know. But yeah, guys, this was track number 8. It was Recursive. If you just wind up checking out the live stream now, it's off of You Win Again Gravity's newest album, Into the Dancing Blue. You can check the links in the description if you want to go pick it up, go purchase it. If you live in the UK, go see them live, because I haven't had the chance to see them live. And if I ever do make my way over to the UK, I'm hoping they put on a show so I can go see them live. But man, this song was so good. I think arguably my favorite part of the song is just the melodies. There was just so much ear candy going on in this track. It would be very hard to nail down some of my favorite parts, but I will say, to kind of counteract what I just said, which was something that I really enjoyed about this song a lot, was that ending. Just like the way that everything cuts out and all you hear is just like some really great like vocal melody lines. I think it just kind of sold me on how much I really kind of enjoyed the melodies throughout the song, and just how much it would be interesting to hear just the just straight vocal tracks, because there is a lot of great like moments in the song itself, but I think just because there's some really cool harmonies going on in like the verses and in the chorus of the song, but also like towards the end and also in the bridge, it would be very, at least for me, interesting to know, how far and how diverse, and some of the stuff I feel like almost gets, I want to say overshadowed, but there are some points where I'm like, it just blends so well with either the guitar work or like the piano work or even possibly the bass work, that it just kind of meshes super well, where it almost doesn't feel like another voice. It feels like another instrument mixed in within the song. So I gotta give them credit for threading that line between the two, where it does have a vocal qualities to it certainly, but also has such a musical quality to it as well that kind of cuts well within the song itself. So really fun, really vibey. I think the guitar work was really solid in this as well. I also got to give it props to the bass work in this track as well too. Really enjoyed it. It was very direct, very in your face, and I think I enjoyed that a lot about pretty much this entire album, is that everything has a distinct moment within the song where you can hear everybody being utilized, and I think that is probably a large key as to why you should check this album out. It's just the sort of necessary ways that they go about it in such a honest and like unique way per se. I think there's moments where you hear some really great bass work. There's some moments where you hear some really great guitar work, whether it be like rhythm guitar work or lead guitar work. Vocals are on point. The piano playing is also great as well too, and has its moments. The drumming has its moments as well, and I think that's kind of the biggest takeaway that I've had thus far with the album, and we still have 3 more songs to go that just kind of sell me on their whole sound as if they haven't already. But I would hope that if you are a new listener and you're checking this out for the first time, I would highly recommend going through the entirety of the album, just because I think it gives you a better idea of what it is. Just put it on like while you're driving home from traffic, or like you're out and about and you just need to put some music on. I think this is a great one to just kind of really immerse yourself into. Like, I don't think it's so high of a threshold if you don't understand a lot of like music theory or jazz and stuff like that, that maybe you might be taken out of it. But I do think there's a lot of elements that even if you listen to just like normal like metalcore music or post-hardcore or like pop music or just regular jazz music, I think there's a lot of takeaways from any genre you really listen to. I think you'll really get delved into this, especially if you're more into the prog space, but I don't think that it's inclusive to just that. I think you can really enjoy the different elements mixed in throughout this album. So I really hope that you give this one a listen, because it is great, and I've been having a great time going through it. So we are going to move it on to track number 9, which is Every Scar, A Brushstroke. This is the longest song on the album, almost 6 minutes long. So let's see how this one shakes out, because I get a little scared when songs are this long. But I understand that we are in the prog space of music, so this may seem like just a normal song to y'all. So let's give Every Scar, A Brushstroke a listen.
I'm a little closer to the truth now. I'm a little faster on my feet. But you're already there. You call me so easy. It's like I want it.
Also, they borrow a lot from one of my favorite bands, Artifacts Correa. And I love that.
Is it everything you thought it was? The taste. I need you to tell me it's worth it. If you give me the same,
Ooh, it's grooves. I like that
I'll
song.
bring you the kill. I envy the
I love this already.
I feel it where my fingers used to be. The touch. Is it everything you thought it was? The taste. I need you to tell me it's worth it. I need you to tell me it's worth it. Do you miss the way I was when I came? I know I'm missing it.
Oh my god.
I'm worth it, I promise you.
So good so far. Oh my god. They do it again.
Pushing through just to prove to myself I'm taking care, not cutting too deep into each room tonight. Pushing through just to prove to myself I'm taking care, not cutting too deep into each room tonight. Pushing through just to prove to myself Biting down hard, I must try to step back until concentrate on symmetry. Careful with your instruments. Now I've seen your face, I have no use for eyes. Let me to the wall. Study your violent fire. The Is it everything you thought it was? Is it everything you thought it was? I need you to tell me it's worth it.
Ooh.
At the final touch, you step back. Admire what is left. I am my soul, my body, compromise. Every cloud waiting for every scar.
Ah, nice. I like that reverse reverb. That was sick. Oh my god. They did it again. I don't know how you do it. Alright, guys. That was track number 9, Every Scar a Brushstroke. I'll be honest, I didn't know how they were going to do it. Just because a song that is almost 6 minutes long, I don't want to say is doomed to fail, because I think there's a lot of bands that do that well. But it can definitely be a hard task to go about. And I think that You Win Again Gravity just locked me in. I was 100% in this song from start to finish. I think can give you a pretty good merit on how the song, at least for me collectively, I was enjoying it. I think arguably why I think Curious Fake does a very good job of keeping your interest very similarly to this song, I think is just the fact that they switch things up. There's not a single moment where you feel like you're going to get the same thing, maybe other than the chorus. I do think that there are some moments throughout this song where very easily it could have been like phoned in or they could have gone about it in maybe a different way. But I do think that for me personally, they went about it. I think they hit all of the direction cues that I personally felt like they were going to go into, in terms of like either like really having some interesting like rhythmic parts or throwing in a piano and adding more of that softer tonality to it. But also at the same point, like allowing just kind of each member to have a specific moment within the song that I think they stood out for. You know, like there was just a lot of great like drumming work going on from James. I also think that both Jonathan and Andy just really crushed it. And Jack again crushed it vocally as well. I think this one, arguably in terms of the songs that they play live, and I don't know if they plan on playing this one live just because it is a longer one, but is quite the vocal like test, right? I think there's a lot of things going on vocally that I think they're gonna have to kind of try to figure out if they do wind up playing this live. So it'd be very curious, at least from my perspective, of how they would go about doing something like this. But I do think that overall, just the song was extremely well written. I don't think there was any really lulls throughout that I think typically would often halt people's ability to go listen to a song like this because it is longer, and it can be a little bit more difficult in terms of just keeping your attention and keeping you interested in the song. I think that this one does a very fantastic job of finding that groove and really sticking with it, whether it be, you know, a little bit more on that softer side of the groove thing or a little bit heavier. I think that they traverse those moments very well, and I think that's probably why this song does very well for it being a longer song. I just really loved the instrumentation throughout as well too. It was very vibey. Obviously love the really heavy parts contrasted with the more softer moments. I think that's really where you get a lot of the depth within the song, and I think this does a really great job of hitting that stride point super well. So really enjoyed this as a whole. I would probably put this up at the top right now, or pretty damn close to the top, just because I think they're the moments where they allow themselves to just kind of break out and do some more interesting stuff that I feel like some of the other things on the album they haven't really tapped into at the current moment, which is great. I think that for them to continually make stuff that's different but also still concise in terms of like, if you do listen to this song and you go listen to like lights to leave behind, like it's going to be a completely different experience, but also at the same point there's a lot of things that connect those songs together, and I think that's my biggest takeaway from this album. And I know I mentioned a couple other takeaways, but I would say this one is number one, where, you know, we still have like another song and a half roughly. So I think that there is a lot of moments where I think with most artists you could take that for granted, where it's like, oh, it's all over the place. Like, I don't know if I feel about this song the way that I feel about the first song on the album. I think there is a lot of definition between each individual song, but I think if you look at it from a bird's eye perspective and you look at it from an album perspective, everything works very well and is very succinct, and there's definitely moments in this song, being the longest song, that I heard moments of suppression. I heard moments of like character arc. I heard moments of Lorian. Like, I think there's definitely a lot of moments mixed in with this song, and with it being one of the longest songs on the album, I think that there's a clear correlation between those. So definitely enjoy that a lot. And we are going to move it on to the next track, which is track 10, The Dancing Blue. So this one is 1 minute and 42 seconds, which is like a feast or famine moment. You know, you have the longest song on the album, and then you have arguably the shortest song on the album right after. So let's get into it, figure out what it's about, and talk about it. I was right that this is an interlude. Or I could be wrong. They could just hit me with a super heavy song at the end. At the end of this little bit. I like the vibes of this, though. This is sick. Especially after the long song. I'm going to just stop it a little bit ahead. I feel like that's going to lead perfectly into Cerulean. So, I mean, we'll go back a little bit in this song, I guess, and figure it out. But I was correct. It is kind of more of an interlude sort of track. Like the kind of like synth work going on in this. That was very nice. I thought it was very interesting to include within this process here, especially again after having the longest song. I just love the fact that they were just like, well, fuck, we're gonna have to put an interlude here. So definitely sick, and I'm all about it. So this one I don't really have much to say because there really isn't too much to say on the song itself, but I do feel like it. Conversely, I feel like it leads very well into Cerulean, so definitely very cool. Jonathan, I did strap in for that song. Every scar a brushstroke. You were here, so you know. Andy, thank you for doing this, man. I can't wait to properly watch it. Can't wait to see when it goes up on the channel. It will be right up right after this is over with, so hopefully you'll check it out then. I'm curious. Leave a comment after. Same with you, Jonathan. I'm expecting you both to leave a comment after this video is over with. I want to see what if I'm close, if I'm wrong, if I need to fix some stuff, let me know. I love it. But the last song, we're at the very end. As much as I'd love to continue on and just listen to this album more times, I have another review after this one. So if you want to stick around, going to be talking about Teenage Wrist's new album, Still Love. I was going to say True Love, but it's Still Love. So, yeah, very excited. But anyway, we're not here for Teenage Wrist. We're here for You and Again Gravity. So let's get into the last song, Cerulean, and let's give it a listen. I'll give a little bit more of that. We'll give a little bit more. Oh, never mind. We're just going to hop right into this song. I thought I backed up enough. Is this an instrumental track? It's feeling like it. Unless we get some of Jack's vocals in the middle. Loving the chord choices. Okay, we are getting some Jack. Ooh, I like the callback, like to Cerulean. That was tight. Oh my god. What are you guys doing to me, man? Get a little piano action here at the end. All right. What a great way to end this album. Almost gives me like little Sleep Token vibes, you know? Wow, what an album. Kudos, guys, kudos. Loved it. All right, well, that was the last song, Cerulean, off of You Win Again Gravity, their new album, Into the Dancing Blue. Now, we have to talk about the album as a whole. I'll talk about Cerulean real quick. I really enjoyed it. I think there was definitely, I almost instinctually thought this was going to be more of an, just kind of an instrumental track, which instinctually I was correct on that. I do wish there was vocals. I mean, I know there was a little bit from Jack in that middle portion of the song, but it would have been nice to kind of hear a little bit more. I do like kind of the musical callback to Aurelian, which was the first song on the album, where Jack kind of uses more of a like vocoder style voice. Really enjoyed that. And I think that was an interesting musical callback to the first song, which is great because this album cycles, obviously, and once you listen to Cerulean, then you'll understand Aurelian. So I think that was really cool. But overall, the album itself was just wonderfully crafted. I think I can say that with very, 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 very much a surety. I think that the singles did a very fantastic job of giving you kind of a landscape to build off of in terms of the album, but I definitely think there's some hidden gems in this album that obviously I'm glad that they did not share with all of us, because there was some not-so tracks on this album that I just, it was cool to experience live and to share with everybody, and I often find that that's a large reason why I enjoy doing these, is just the sheer fact that, you know, you're in the moment with me, you're listening to it at the current time. So just a really great experience, and I think that this album is one of those albums that, again, I suggest to everybody. Again, it is probably because I'm old and I love just listening to albums to front to back, but I think you'll get a lot more out of it if you listen to this album front to back. There's just something about it in terms of the way that the songs are crafted, the way that the sort of themes, whether it be musically or I guess also lyrically as well, to kind of transcend within this album. So I would just highly recommend, if you are really into just delving into albums, this is absolutely one to just give a listen to from front to back. As I mentioned before, if you're sitting in traffic or you're, just out and about. I mean, this album is 50 minutes long, which really comparatively is not terribly long. I mean, I feel like I would put this on if I was like going to get groceries, and listening to this album would be really sick. And just probably other circumstances. I just feel like groceries was the first thing on my head for some reason. So I gotta say, I had to mention that one. But yeah, I just think that for me, it really kind of culminates what I've just been listening to over the years with You Win Again Gravity. I feel like with each release that they've put out, they've consistently gotten better, but I would say this is definitely amongst the best stuff that they've written. Arguably, I think they have songs like Curious Fake, Every Scar a Brushstroke, Lights to Leave Behind, where there's just so much like dynamic interest going on in those songs, and arguably probably why some of those are my favorite songs that I've listed, just because there's just so much vibes, as well as just kind of like musical talent that goes on into this. Like, I was just surely enamored by the amount of like cool like chord structures, the way that they incorporate a lot more like jazz elements, as well as that like vocally it's just like really rich, and I just think the whole album itself really lends itself to a lot of great dynamics that I often find with maybe other albums can be overlooked, and I would say that this album, you cannot overlook these elements. It's just very plain as day, front and center, and I think that's probably why I enjoy this listening experience so much. So I would highly recommend listening to this album as a whole. But if I had to suggest some of my favorites off the album, I would say Every Scar's a Brushstroke, Lights to Leave Behind, Shadowboxing, Suppression, and I probably put Curious Fake as kind of my top 5 off the album. I just kind of really enjoyed the elements that all of those songs brought, but that's not to discount some of the other ones that I didn't pick. I still love those as well too, but I think those, in terms of the songs that at least stood out to me the most, I would say those are amongst my favorites. So it just been a very just a very interesting process to see them grow as a band, and I would hope that at least for other bands that are listening, or even other people that are in the music, realm, I just think that really taking your time to be very methodical about how you write. And obviously everybody thinks that their music isn't ready for to be released, and I can certainly resonate with that. But I think there is a level of due care that you should take within writing music, and I know for a fact that these guys take so much due process into their writing, and how much they slave away over different things. So it's just been a very fun experience going through this album, and really, again, having that forethought of speaking with them in my previous interview that I've done with them, and just listening to this album now in the moment, I think it really kind of it instills that sort of process of like, these guys have taken a lot of time to really craft and really hone into their sound, and I think that they really kind of just let it go. They just let the amount of like processes and attention to detail go within this album. So I absolutely love this. I imagine this will probably be on my albums of the year list, just because it's been such a wild ride. It kind of mixes all of my love of like really cool progressive post-hardcore bands. I also think it incorporates like elements of mathcore. I think there's also some really great like melodic and like jazz elements going on in this album. So I think it kind of encompasses things that I already enjoy about some of my favorite bands that I still listen to, but also a lot of the heavier elements that I also love too in terms of the genre. I don't feel like they really skimp on anything, and I think this is a great representation and a great album to start off with. If you are not familiar with You Win Again Gravity, I think that they've done a very, 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 very good job with this album, and I would highly, highly recommend you guys go give this one some listens, because it's certainly worth it. And if you do live in the UK, please go out and see them, because I'm sure they put on a great live show. So please go show them some love. I know that they have some stuff coming up. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure they have a couple shows that I'll give a shout outs to, even though I don't live in the UK. Maybe you can. So the next couple shows that they have is a bunch of shows with Pleiades. If I pronunciate this wrong, Jonathan, let me know how to pronunciate it, because I don't fucking know how to say shit. But they have a couple shows this upcoming August 10th, August 11th, and August 12th. They're going to be playing in Kingston, Guildford, and Leicester. I'm again gonna butcher this because I'm not from the UK. So yeah, go check them out if you do live in or around those towns or cities or whatever. I don't know what you guys call that shit. So go see them. They're sick. And very excited to again delve through this album. It's been an absolute pleasure. And honestly, if it's a band you haven't checked out already, I hope that you go back and watch this, because it is very cool. John said, "We love you, Brandon. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and share your thoughts in such detail. Really means the world to us." Of course, you guys mean the world to me, so had to do it. You guys are the fam, the OGs. So I had to do it for the fam. So please go check out You Win Again Gravity. I am going to stop this because I have to hop on in like 10 minutes to talk about Teenage Wrist and their new album, Still Love. So big salutes, big ups to the boys, and you win again, Gravity. Go show them some love, and yeah, see you in like 10 minutes if you are joining me for Teenage Wrist.